I don't know how to explain this to you. It is because he is washed. That's it. He is so washed and so desperate for attention that he knows this is the last thing you can do. There is the only thing you can do that is worse than this if you actively come out in support of like pedophilia or something. I have a different approach to it. I do think that like his mental illness certainly played a major role in making him vulnerable and more susceptible to Nazi influence. Candace Owens played a big role in, I think, Kanye West's like neo-Nazi radicalization. Having said that, however, this is the second time. This is the second go at it. And I think at this point, it's very obvious. It's fairly obvious that it's not because of just like the mania that comes in and out of Kanye West's life, but also I think he's doing it for attention. He hit every part of the political spectrum. I will say nothing bad or against China. They always showed me love. When Americans turned their backs on me, I'm a Nazi. Who's your top 5 baddest bitches of all time? My wife, my wife, my wife, my wife. My wife demoralizes bitches. I change my mind when I feel like it. If you see anyone around me, know that they are providing a service. Friends are for kids. I used to be broke. Now I can't relate to brokenness and don't want to. All white people are racist. I'm happily out of touch. Gerard Carmichael is funnier than Dave Chappelle. I miss you, family, and I'm sorry if I ever said any gay jokes in front of you, not knowing you was gay. You are one of the most brilliant people. And yes, I said I miss you, knowing people will try to flip that. He's finally crossed the line. Wait, is Gerard Carmichael gay? He's selling this now? What is this? Okay, dude. I've wanted to make this t-shirt for years. My greatest performance art piece thus far. This has 89,000 likes. Twitter is so cooked. Yeah, HH Heil Hitler 01. Dude, let me explain something to you, okay? Let me explain something to you. This is 1,000,000% someone who is unimaginably desperate for attention, okay? He said, "Hail Elon." It's a desperate ploy for attention from an old man who is nearing 50 years old, who, unfortunately, for many of his fans and himself, has not contributed to the culture in meaningful and relevant ways in quite a while at this point. And I think that bricked his brain. He already was like very obviously not all there. And surrounded by sycophants who lean into his worst motivations, who allow him to go crazy like this. He's just basically popping off, desperately trying to garner as much attention as he possibly can. And we're kind of giving it to him, but not in the way that he wants it to happen. Can you explain how Candace Owens played a role in this? In Kanye West's most vulnerable moments, Candace Owens was literally constantly stuck to his ass cheeks, okay? A lot of people don't remember this. This was all the way back in like 2018, if I'm not mistaken. It was the first time he had a crash out. Van Lathan, I forget how to say his name, I'm sorry, famously had that TMZ argument with him where he was saying like slavery is a mindset, where he was basically unwinding, where he first started doing the MAGA shit. That was when he was linked up with Candace Owens. And Candace Owens was nonstop pumping his brain with like, at first, some Hotep stuff, and then later directly neo-Nazi shit. Okay. Anyway, I used to be woke too. I like that being woke now is just saying being anti-Nazi. Like that's what wokeness has gotten to. Cancel culture is now when you want to say that like a federal government employee shouldn't be on the timeline talking about, deporting every Indian. That's cancel culture, okay? If you say, hey, this like 19, 20-year-old was tweeting about how we should deport every Indian and we should normalize Indian hate, okay? 2 weeks before assuming the role of controlling the treasury, right? Like maybe that's not the best possible person to hire for the job. That's cancel culture. And now woke is when you're like, say no to Nazis Yesterday, the White Lives Matter tee sold the most. They'll buy all this Louis Vuitton owned by a French dude, but y'all mad.
It's over. It's cooked. GG. All the words that you can use to describe a situation that's beyond the point of no return. It's
Hasan, thank you for not feeding the narrative that Kanye's acting like this due to bipolar 1 disorder. I was diagnosed with it in 2017. No, the only thing that contributes to it is like, it obviously, when you're bipolar, yes, you are more vulnerable, more susceptible to outside influences like this, but it's still him doing it. You know what I mean? He's like, not everyone with bipolar disorder that goes out and becomes a Nazi. Okay. Like, people actively work to control their urges. And I think that Kanye West, especially given the media blackout that he engaged in his spiraling in the past, like, this is not the first time he's doing it. This is the second time he's doing it very publicly. Okay. And the stakes are constantly raised. So obviously there is a separate narcissistic tendency here where he obviously wants to garner attention by doing this. It's not because he's bipolar, although that feeds into him being vulnerable, I think, especially alongside his narcissism and his tendency to push away people that are like criticizing him or critical of him in his own orbit, that try to reach out to him and preserve his mental sanity. Okay. But it's clear that, like, especially considering the times where he hasn't behaved like this prominently, and the suspicious nature of how he came out recently again and started popping off like this again right before he decides to like release an album or sell some merchandise or whatever. It shows me that he's doing this for a very specific, very deliberate, very nefarious purpose, which is to garner more attention.
too far. It's too far gone. He's too far gone. It's over with. This is the official close of the Kanye chapter. See, the thing is, right, Kanye West, when he used to be contrarian, he would try to accompany it with some level of thought, you know. All of those arguments that he had maybe, I don't know, what was it, 7 years ago, where he's on TMZ, and even those were horrible, but it seemed to stem not just out of some like maybe temper tantrum or some want to be noticed so badly that you're literally saying anything. It seemed as if, at least back then, though those arguments were terrible, he was trying to articulate his point. I'm not blaming the fans. I'm not. Y'all don't have control over what Kanye West says. You aren't going to be the needle. But a lack of engagement, I think, is what's required when you see people doing things like this. Kanye West is incapable. Yes, Kanye West is incapable of making noise musically currently. He has no ideas, nothing thought-provoking, nothing left in the tank musically. Because if he did, this level of expression wouldn't be coming out on Twitter, it will be coming out through song. Now, just because Kanye is a musician, it doesn't mean that the only medium in which he can express himself is through music. It just doesn't appear to be a coincidence that the music quality has significantly dropped over the last 5 years. He's no longer in that musical GOAT conversation. He's dropping trailer after trailer and snippet after snippet of this AI bullshit all over his social media, trying to garner attention and noise, and nobody's biting at the bait. Now my guy's just saying anything. And it's sad, you know. I'm not telling you to feel bad for Ye either. I don't believe this is one of those like mental breakdowns or one of those episodes. I genuinely think that he is so beyond the point.
You mean Wagner or Vikernes? Both. But Wagner, he tweeted about Wagner. He said like, oh, I only listen to classical compositions from Wagner. He's the best because he wasn't broken by the Jews or whatever. He's just doing Nazi dog whistles on every aspect, including his music. Is so stupid.
Of just being creative and putting together a thought-provoking song that he's resorted to having to be acknowledged via Twitter by saying literally anything. It doesn't have to come from a thought. It doesn't have to come from a deep-seated emotion. It doesn't have to come from something that he's been sitting with for a while. anything. It's basically Kanye's rage bait. That's it. He wants attention. He can't get it through music because for whatever reason, I'm not going to say he's not talented enough to produce records that would get people talking, but he hasn't done so over the last 5 years. People that aren't hardcore fans, his genius, quote unquote, has not been acknowledged to that extent musically. I'm not saying that people don't still like his merchandise, but the allure of Kanye West clothing doesn't seem to be as hype as it was 5-6 years ago. So when no one's talking about Kanye or bro wants some attention,
those are not dog whistles, my guy. He's selling a shirt with a swastika on it. That's blatant. No. I'm saying like even I know it's blatant. But I'm saying even when he's talking about like music, like every aspect of it is just like pro-Nazi. Everything he tweets about is like about how much he loves Adolf Hitler. Dude, I don't know how to explain this to you. It is because he is washed. That's it. He is so washed and so desperate for attention that he knows this is the last thing you can do. There is the only thing you can do that is worse than this if you actively come out in support of like pedophilia or something. Okay? That's it. That's the last move that he's got in the tank. Okay? The one thing he hasn't pulled on yet is saying he loves Adolf Hitler is basically second to last before you hit the full Monty.